Hello, my name is Grace Grenager and I'm the Public Health Supervisor for Cook County. I'm going to do a short presentation for you all as you prepare to serve as election judges during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to be talking about some things that you can do and keep in mind to ensure your health and safety this year during election season. So much of what I'm going to talk about is going to seem very familiar to you all. It's very similar to the public health messaging in general. It's just tailored to the polls and the election season. So this year, before you go to your shift, make sure that you are feeling well. And if you are not, stay home. So when to stay home? Stay home if you test positive for COVID-19. If you are a close contact of someone who tests positive for COVID-19 and are in quarantine, if you have any symptoms of COVID, or if you're waiting for the results of a COVID-19 test. And over here on the left, there's a list of the different symptoms that can be associated with COVID-19. So if you experience any of these symptoms, I would recommend connecting with the Saatchi's Mountain Clinic to get set up for testing. And those symptoms include fever, difficulty breathing, loss of taste or smell, muscle pain, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, chills, cough, runny nose or congestion, sore throat, headache, or fatigue. Moving on to hand hygiene. So I'm sure everyone knows how important it is to wash your hands, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. When you wash your hands, you should do so with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. So some people like to sing a song like the ABCs or Happy Birthday to make sure they've washed for a full 20 seconds. Whatever works for you. It's also important to know when you should be washing your hands. So wash your hands before you enter the polling location, before and after your shift and any breaks you might take during your shift, before and after putting on your mask, taking it off, after using the restroom, and after touching shared surfaces and objects. So things like pens, doorknobs, buttons on an elevator, anything that multiple people will be touching. If you do not have soap and water readily available, hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol is a great alternative. I would also encourage you to put hand sanitizer for voters in places where they're easy to see and in locations that are frequently used. So that could be at the registration desk and near entrances and exits to the building. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about masks. So as an election judge, we encourage you to wear a mask in the polling place and encourage voters to do the same. Masks are meant to protect other people in case the person wearing the mask is unknowingly infectious for COVID-19 but does not have symptoms. I did link to a nice little video here from the Minnesota Department of Health that talks about how to correctly wear your mask. There's also a couple of images here on the right of people wearing a mask correctly with a little green check mark and people wearing a mask incorrectly with a little red X. So some things to note. Again, wash your hands before putting on your mask and after taking off your mask. Your mask should fit over both your nose and mouth and rest snugly against your chin. You should be able to breathe easily with your mask on. Face shields, I've gotten quite a few questions about those. Face shields are not as effective as a mask at preventing the spread of COVID because if you think about a face shield, there is an opening around the edges where respiratory droplets can get underneath the face shield. So if you wanted to wear a face shield, I would recommend doing it in addition to a mask for an added layer of protection, but not instead of a mask. It would, however, be appropriate to wear a face shield if you are communicating with an individual who is deaf or hard of hearing and needs to read lips to be able to communicate effectively. So wearing a mask does not mean that we can forget about social distancing or what some people call physical distancing. So even with that mask, it's incredibly important to stay 6 feet or more away from people who are outside of your household. This might mean on election day managing lines to make sure that voters can stay 6 feet apart or more. It might mean you mark the entrance and exit of the building so that there's a one-way flow of traffic that helps avoid any bottlenecks. It means not greeting one another with physical contact like a hug or a handshake, but just keeping your distance and saying hello. And it also means staying at least 6 feet away from other election workers throughout your shift. Finally, creating a healthy environment. So as an election judge, you might be asked to help regularly clean and disinfect commonly touched surfaces. So again, things like door handles, registration tables, pens, clipboards. After voters, make sure you're cleaning the voting station. It also could mean replacing things like pens with single-use items. So you're not cleaning a pen between use, but just sending the voter back with a pen. You might want to open doors and windows to increase the air circulation in the building. And to the extent possible, you want to minimize lines of people indoors. These are all things that you can do to help keep voters safe and healthy on election day. That is all I have for you. I do have a link to more resources, and I also have put my contact information, both my email address and my phone number here. So if you want to learn more, I would recommend checking out those links. And if you have more specific questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out via email or by cell phone. That's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for serving as an election judge and helping keep our voters and yourselves safe and healthy during the 2020 elections.